My name is Mia, and I'm 28 years old. I was what people call an orphan. I grew up in an orphanage since as early as I can remember. Seemed like I was alone, but teachers were there for me like actual parents. And even though some of the kids stayed there for a short time, but those who shared meals with me were like family. In the orphanage, teachers' hands were always full, so as we got older, we started to take care of the younger children and help with preparing meals. Among those tasks, I enjoyed helping with cooking the most. Even though it wasn't our choice to be in that situation as orphans, some kids were tend to look sad and unhappy when they returned from school. At those times, the food I made or helped to cook made them smile, and that made me happy to see them happy as well. That's why I liked cooking. Tonight is a celebration. Son's wife is in charge of cooking for 20 relatives and preparing drinks, so please enjoy it. I never expected to feel this way while cooking. I had just been discharged from the hospital where I gave birth to twins today, but I was already in my in-laws' kitchen, holding a knife in front of a massive pile of ingredients. My hands naturally started to move, but my stomach was hurting badly. My mind was not keeping up with the overwhelming situation. What is happening? What should I do now? I couldn't think clearly with my exhausted body and mind. In my fading consciousness, I heard my babies were crying, but I couldn't move. How did this happen? Hearing that voice made me relieved, but while my consciousness was fading away, I was remembering about everything that had happened in my life. I was determined to see everyone's smiles by cooking. So I worked as part-time to save money to go to culinary school, to get a license. And I met someone who could help my business. Then finally I started a food truck. I met my husband, Jack, during a food truck interview, and he was the one who ate my cooking and had the most wonderful smile. Delicious! What's this? It's delicious! His reaction remained the same when we were dating and even now that we're married. He always praises and enjoys the delicious meals I prepare. He's a kind person, and our marriage is a happy one. Moreover, although it was a local magazine, the first interview Kent arranged brought my business a good result. The positive reviews in the magazine led to requests for our food at local events, and our business was going well, progressing smoothly. Besides the events, we operated our food truck at a fixed location. Even after the interview was over, Jack continued to visit, and eventually, he confessed his feelings and proposed me, then we got married. Please cook for me from now on. Not just miso soup. It's a Showa-era proposal. Laughing and saying that, we thought we were off to a good start. However, there was one concern. I grew up in an orphanage. I'm not ashamed of growing up in orphanages, and I don't consider myself unfortunate, but when it comes to marriage, I had heard stories of things not going well. Furthermore, in Jack's family, his father had passed away, and it was just Jack and his mother. Jack himself didn't want to live together with his mother, and he wasn't a mama's boy, but from what I heard from his mother, he seemed to be quite cherished. You don't even know what your parents look like? When I went to greet her for the first time, Eva, who is his mother, she said that without hesitation, and she didn't try to hide her discomfort. Mom, your choice of words! Oh, I'm sorry. It just slipped out. No. I have asked that often. Maybe it's because I don't know my parents. I don't really feel lonely or sad. Oh, is that so? You know, isn't that the kind of thing you see in dramas? Those kind of scenes makes me feel sad, and that's why people are touched by the happy endings. Oh, that might be true. There are probably orphans like that. But for me, my mother was one of the teachers at the orphanage, and she treated me well. Is that so? Well, if you get married, is that technically a happy ending? But I don't think Jack needs to make sacrifices for that. Huh? What are you saying, Mom? I just want Jack to be happy. My husband passed away when Jack was still in college, and I've gone through a lot. And if I have grandchildren, they'll only have me as a grandparent. Isn't that a bit sad? I see. I had thought it might be the case, but I didn't expect her to say this much. Mom, please stop it. I love Mia. My happiness is to be with her for the rest of my life. And also I've interviewed many people, but I don't know anyone more hard worker than Mia is. Jack. You think it's sad for the kids to have not many grandparents? If you feel that way, why don't you show them with a lot of affection, just like you did for me? You can make an effort to make them not sad. Besides, if we have children, we'll always fill them with our love, so they'll be just fine. Just like you did for me. It seemed that Jack's words had convinced her, and eventually, Eva agreed. Initially, she reacted to the word interview that Jack mentioned. Oh, your restaurant is a bit famous, isn't it? That's impressive. I couldn't quite gauge the meaning behind those words, and for some reason, I felt chills down my spine. I soon understand the reason. One day, as I was about to start our lunch service at the usual park, Eva arrived at the restaurant with 15 of her friends. It was after our wedding, and we had officially married. This is the place, here. Oh, it's such a charming little restaurant. Right! It was even featured on a nationwide TV program not too long ago. Oh! I saw it! It was that trendy park lunch place, right? Is the chef the wife? Exactly! The wife grew up in an orphanage, and doesn't have parents, you know? Jack was considerate, and we kept the wedding simple, which is why we couldn't introduce her before. So, today is the first time for everyone. Despite already having customers waiting, they occupied 4 out of the 7 tables, and approached the food truck, loudly discussing my personal information. One of the staff noticed the situation and let me step outside and approach Eva. What's going on, Eva? What can I say, darling? To introduce you in a way I'm not ashamed of, there's no better way than having people try your cooking, right? I couldn't tell whether she was complimenting me or humiliating me. I gazed at Eva with mixed feelings. What should I do about orders? I couldn't just send them away, but I hadn't prepared enough portions for a big number of customers. Of course, the menu you had on TV is perfect. But we have orders from other customers, and it's difficult to serve the same menu for everyone. What? Are you trying to humiliate my reputation? No, it's not like that. It's just that we really don't have enough ingredients. Perhaps because my voice was slightly louder, people around us started glancing us. Maybe because of that, Eva said she had no other choice and gave up. Okay, make enough for the number of people here then. We'll handle the rest. Thank you. However, in exchange, there are other groups I'd like to introduce to you, so come over to my house next time and cook for them. Huh? At your house? Yes, at my house. For now, just go ahead and prepare the food. I'll send you the schedule later. That day, I managed to use the rest of ingredients and serve the dishes. However, I thought that if something like this happened again, it might inconvenience the other employees and make the customers uncomfortable. So, I decided to go to Eva's house to cook, thinking that it wouldn't hurt to do it once. However, there was no payment, even for the ingredients. Since it was for many people, I at least wanted to cover the cost of the ingredients, but she said, "Even if you call yourself a chef, since you are cooking at my kitchen, you're just helping me out here, so you shouldn't expect any payment, right?" This is where you show if you are well brought up or not. It's not good to be so stingy. I was wondered how dare she say that. It would have been fine if it happened just once, but I was called twice a month. Even if it was a simple meal, there were almost 10 people every time, and this had been going on for half a year. I thought that if I talked to Jack, he would probably take my side. But because I don't have parents, so that at least I wanted Jack to have a good relationship with his own parents. I think Jack is here now because of Eva. When I thought about it that way, I didn't want them to have a bad vibes because of me. Nevertheless, I was physically exhausted because I was doing this on my days off. In the midst of all this, I fell seriously ill and had to postpone the lunch to go to the hospital, and I found out that I was pregnant. Yesterday, we had no choice but to go out for lunch because you weren't feeling well, but is it professional to cancel a reservation? The next day, Eva called me with angry voice. I'm sorry. Actually, I was only 2 months pregnant at the time, and I had hesitated to share the news, but considering the future, I thought it was better to talk about it rather than make excuses. A baby! My grandchild, right? Yes, that's right. I see. That's great! Eva's words made me think that she might not be a bad person after all. Thank you. So, when can we make up for today's meal? Huh? You're still only 2 months pregnant, right? You're already being a lazy, even though you're going to be a mother? I felt like I was overwhelmed. That maybe I was wrong, but I said, I'll talk to Jack. Jack, well, all right then. Take your time to settle down. Perhaps because of what happened when I met her the first time, Eva didn't say about it anymore. Moreover, my morning sickness only got worse after that. Even when I thought I was getting better, there were days when I couldn't move at all. So I could only help to develop the menu and accounting, but I handed off the actual operation of the food truck to other stuff. It was a cautious decision because I had twin by the time I reached the last month of pregnancy. Everything had stabilized, and I planned to have a natural birth. Jack. I think my water just broke. Huh? What? Jack had been very busy lately, and when I shook him awake, he seemed slow to react. Probably he was super exhausted. It's the baby. My water broke. I called the hospital and they told me to come. The hospital! Jack immediately woke up, grabbed the emergency hospital bag we had prepared just in case, and rushed to take me to the hospital. It happened a bit earlier than expected. What's more, due to water breaking, there wasn't enough for both babies, so they had to perform an emergency C-section. They're going to cut your belly. I'm sorry, and thank you. While I had been focused on ensuring the safe delivery of the baby, it appeared that Jack was concerned about me having a scar. They are our babies. I hope they're born healthy. When I smiled, Jack smiled me back. Following the instructions of the nurses and doctors, the babies were born one after another. They're born! When the babies cried for the first time, I could hear Jack's joyful voice from outside the operating room. It was a moment of happiness. Jack took the next day off as well and efficiently handled paperwork and stuff. As for me, my body was worn out and I couldn't move. Since it was a busy time at work for him, Jack sadly went back to the office on the 3rd day after babies were born. As for Eva, it seemed she said something when Jack told her that I had a C-section, and Jack told her not to come to the hospital. So she didn't come. However, due to that it was an emergency, I ended up staying in the hospital for 2 weeks. Unfortunately, Jack's important work commitments and my discharge date were at the same day. I'm really sorry. It's not your fault. But what should we do? Even if we call a taxi, we need 2 adults. If Mia is okay, my mother can help. I wondered why Jack was so worried. She might said something him to worry. But I didn't ask because I knew that whatever had been said before would likely affected my mood. We have a child seat, but I can't drive. Right? Driving is still not possible. After discussing, we decided to have Eva come. As Eva had mentioned before, she is the only grandparent for the children, so we wanted her to meet babies and be there to watch over them kindly. Well, I was thinking when you will call me to meet babies, and finally did, but it's for me to drive. Who do you think you are? It was her first words to say. When she finally met her grandchildren, I started regret that I asked her for help. I didn't mean it that way. Well, one of them is a boy, so you accomplished your duty as a wife. Are you ready? I'm quite busy today, so let's get going. Without even looking at the kids' faces, Eva continued to complain, preparing to leave the room without taking anything with her. Huh? What? Oh, I'm sorry. I'll carry and hold the baby, so can you handle the luggage? You make me drive and also make me handle the luggage. I needed someone's help, obviously. She was keep saying so and so. Listening to that made my wounds in pain, and all I needed from Eva was to take me home. So, I held back my emotions. Jack had installed a child seat in Eva's car the day before, so putting the kids in was smooth. However, as we left the hospital, at the point where we should have made a right turn, she went straight. The road. Oh, it's fine. We're going to my place. Huh? Why? Why? Well, we have to show the baby to the relatives, right? They will come over in the evening, so make sure everything's ready. Didn't you promise to go straight home with Jack? You're so annoying. I did, but so what? They are my grandchild, I can do whatever I want. Her emotions started affecting her driving, and it was getting rough, so I had no choice but to keep quiet, thinking about the kids. I decided to call Jack once we arrived. That's what I endured. For now, let's take the kids inside. They don't move much yet, and it's good if you can see them from the kitchen, Eva said, leaving me with nothing but questions. See them from the kitchen? I asked. I had just given birth to twins through C-section, and I just got discharged from the hospital today. Despite that, the words that came from Eva were harsh. Tonight is a celebration. You'll be in charge of cooking for 20 relatives and providing drinks. Enjoy it, she said. What are you talking about? I was taken aback, and she pushed me into the kitchen. There was already a massive amount of ingredients laid out. I bought some meat and fish too. I did the shopping for you, so don't be so demanding, all right? Besides, you had a C-section, so you'll be fine, won't you? My experience was more worse. She said that and left the room. I was confused as I stared at the knife in front of me, but my hands moved on their own to grasp it. My stomach was throbbing with pain, and it was unbearable. It wasn't just that the pain was preventing my mind from functioning. My mind couldn't keep up with the overwhelming mistreatment. What is happening? What should I do now? I couldn't think clearly with my exhausted body and mind. And I collapsed. In my fading consciousness, I heard my babies were crying. I knew I had to go, but I couldn't move. How did this happen? I heard a voice and I felt relieved. I still held onto my anger toward Eva as my consciousness faded. Auntie. Thank goodness. Jack. Mia has woken up. The next time I opened my eyes, I was in the hospital. When I collapsed, it was Jack's aunt who had come to visit me. She is a sister of Jack's father who passed away. She hasn't married yet, so she loved Jack as if he were her own child, and had always been kind to me. Jack happened to be in the hallway at the moment, and rushed over when he saw me sitting up. Mia, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm glad you woke up, Jack said as he held my hand, tears streaming down his face. His aunt patted his back. Actually, the doctor said there was no way you wouldn't wake up, but he was like this all day, Jack's aunt said. I see. Oh, my babies. I wanted to keep them by your side, but they were keep crying, so they are taken care of in the maternity ward at the hospital. That's a relief that they are safe. Then what happened? I can guess some of it, but it's hard to believe that something like that would happen. Can you tell me everything? I explained what had happened at the store, at the dinner party before I got pregnant, what happened in the car, and everything that happened today. As I telling the story, Jack's face changed increasingly clouded, but I told them everything. By the end, both of them faces were turning to red with anger. And it was clear that Jack was not just angry, but also feeling a deep sense of betrayal. Jack had trusted his mother, who had ultimately let him down. I was told that I still had some tests to do, so I remained hospitalized. Jack informed me that he was going to talk to his mother, and he left with his aunt. The following day, Jack and his aunt brought Eva to the hospital. She came with a red face and her battered appearance. She knelt down in apology. I'm truly sorry. It seemed more like she was apologizing, because she had no other choice rather than truly accepting responsibility. What are you apologizing for? The incident at the store? The dinner party? Trying to make me cook for 20 people on the day I was discharged? Huh? What's all this attitude? You're the one who should watch your attitude. Both Jack and I glared at her in silence, and she went to silent. I love cooking, and I became a chef because I enjoy making people smile with my food. So, beside what happened yesterday, I could endure it. Oh, so you'll forgive me then? She asked. Forgive you? About what happened yesterday? Are you even listening? There's no way I can forgive that, I responded. Huh? Worst case, what if I had lost my life? The kids might have lost their mother, you know? Don't be so dramatic. She is not being dramatic. Haven't you realized what you have done? When they returned to Eva's house yesterday, all relatives had gathered. Even though I had been taken to the hospital in an ambulance, Eva was enjoying sushi and alcohol with the relatives, saying that I was a weak and selfish who had left with babies. Jack confronted her vehemently after witnessing this, and relatives tried to stop him since they didn't know anything. But when Jack's aunt explained, they all started accusing Eva. Most of the relatives were from Eva's side, but they continued to blame in her direction. I wanted to get along with my grandchild's only grandmother, you, Eva. I wanted to be accepted, she said. I had my concerns too, but I've always thought my mom was a good person. Jack added. But I can't do it anymore. I can't imagine getting along and laughing together with the person who pushed me to this point both physically and emotionally. I don't want to see Mom ever again, he said, touching his own hand. He didn't regret raising his hand, but still he felt some type of way about what he did to his mother, who had raised him so gently all these years. You don't want to see me. But my grandchildren were just born, you know? What am I supposed to do from now on, Jack? She pleaded, trying to lean on Jack, but his aunt held her shoulder to stop her. "You did what you did. Now, you should reflect on the gravity of your actions," she said. Jack's aunt stood up and took Eva with her. Jack was feeling down for a while and kept apologizing to me. We had just welcomed our children into the world. We supposed to have smile on our faces. I didn't want this moment to be bitter memories. Because of Eva, I had to stay in the hospital for a while to rest, was made Jack to more worry. However, it turned out that after I was taken to the hospital by ambulance, the neighbors had seen Eva. Moreover, she had been scolded by Jack's aunt for why a postpartum woman like me was found in the kitchen with a knife before collapsing. Rumors spread that all her bragging about me being the perfect daughter-in-law was actually part of her bullying, and she began to be labeled as the person who had pushed me to collapse. As a result, Eva were cut ties from relatives, and she started receiving cold looks from neighbors, making it impossible for her to go shopping. Because of that, she started to go for groceries at night to avoid these situations. Eventually, she couldn't stand with the circumstances and decided to sell the house and moving out. Unfortunately, the house didn't fetch a substantial amount because it was old. She couldn't trust people after that, couldn't go to a part-time job, and now lives a poor life on her pension. After a while, there was a day when Jack left without saying anything, shortly after receiving a call from the city hall regarding Eva. That night, he shared the story with me, because we had promised not to keep any secrets from each other. Jack went to see Eva. He saw her in tattered clothes, walking wearily, but he couldn't bring himself to forgive her, after realizing he might have lost me, and he returned without saying a word. I respected Jack's feelings and hugged his trembling shoulders. Now, I'm juggling the children every day, and my sleep still isn't stable. But soon, it will be time to start weaning them, and their expressions will continue to grow. While I did have some unpleasant memories from childbirth, I want to create many more beautiful memories with my family of 4, with delicious meals until those bad memories fade into the background.